Hey guys, it's Troy here. This isn't exactly pen mail because I didn't get any of this in the mail, what you see before you. I actually went to a store today, in one of the few stores here in North Carolina. Crazy Alan's Emporium. For those of you who go to pen shows, I know you've seen Alan probably in Dallas, Atlanta, Raleigh, DC, maybe Baltimore. So, and I know you're going to end up seeing him at the Commonwealth Show up in Massachusetts. So Alan gets around, and I've had really good dealings with Alan. He keeps me stocked. Matter of fact, most of my Rhodia dot pads that I've bought over the past several years have been from Alan. And since he is local to the Triangle in the North Carolina area, and so am I, he's always, an anchor for him is the Raleigh Pen Show. And that's where I first met him, and I got a chance to talk with him and get to know him just a little bit and talk to him behind the scenes a little bit. Well, I had business in his town in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and so today I stopped by his store. And I'd never been to that particular store. I mean, I knew where it was. I knew the address, and I knew the kind of stuff that Alan would have. I just don't make it to Chapel Hill very often. The Triangle Pen Club actually meets in Chapel Hill on Sunday afternoons, but I don't get a chance to go because it really interferes with my church schedule, and I lead a men's group at our church, so there's no way that I'm going to make it out to the Triangle Pen Show. But then again, that's on a Sunday, you know. So anyway, anytime I've gone to Chapel Hill, usually it's early in the morning, and I'm there with my son, and I have to get him back in time to be able to go back to school, because usually we have an appointment first thing in the morning. Well, today, school's out. So for the summer, we were able to make the trip all the way to Chapel Hill, take some time, have lunch, and then I decided we're going to stop by Crazy Alan's. And we did. So I picked up these while I was there. I didn't expect to, but I did. So Alan worked me a deal on these 3 pens. This one in particular was one I looked over, and I saw he's actually got some nice vintage pens that really, really brought up my curiosity, but I did not have the budget for it, and I didn't plan on going and spending a lot of money. But I may have to go back because there's some vintage pens that I liked, and some of them were at a pretty decent price, so I just may have to make another trip sometime soon on purpose. But this particular pen, it's a cross, and it is more of a vintage cross. I'm assuming because of the logo on it, the feel of it, how it, the nib, the design on the nib is a little different than their more modern cross pens. Even though it's a plastic pen, it is a cartridge converter. But it takes these funky little cross cartridges that, to me, remind me of like old hand grenades from German hand grenades. This particular one is got a lot less ink in it, so this one was giving me a hard time, and I had to reprime it. But it came with this already in it, so I discovered it, wrote with it, and it wrote okay, not fantastic, not incredibly smooth, and maybe if I spend a little bit of time on this nib, and it's a very rigid nib, you're not going to get any real flex out of it, then it might be alright. And I was looking for the model of this particular pen, and the closest that I could find, the Radiance is as close as I could find to looking anything like this. And I did actually see one that was listed, for someone was selling, that was listed as a Radiance, and it did have the indentation in the end of the cap. It did have the ring here at the tail end. It only had the single band. But then again, I've seen others that were new in box that had like a double thinner band and looked a little different. So they looked to be newer. This looked to be a much older one, maybe from the 70s or so, is my guess. So I'm going to call it a Cross Radiance for right now, only because I don't know better what it might be. I haven't cleaned it up, haven't polished it up yet, which I will eventually do, and maybe smooth out that nib just a hair, and I'll show you how that does. Alan threw in a Rhodia dot pad for me, which was nice of him. I didn't plan on that at all, but he was feeling a little generous today, so he chucked that in. And something else that I picked up while there is a pen brand I have seen, I have checked out, but I have never purchased before. And this particular pen is by Porsche Design. Porsche Design is in the Porsche family, so if you're familiar with the luxury automobile, sports car, then yes, you've got the same general company, Porsche. And this is a small division of Porsche that designs things like pens and has for years, but they don't manufacture them. As a matter of fact, they had for a while, they had Graf von Faber-Castell would actually do, they would do the manufacturing to the specification for Porsche. And that went on until up to about 2011, and after that they started to get Pelican to do it. I can tell you that this pen was made in Germany. So on that clip right there, you may or may not be able to see, it does say Germany in tiny little letters. And it does say right there, Porsche Design, right there. And I had to look. Matter of fact, I had no idea how much this was going to cost, and so we looked it up online while I was in the store. These particular pens used are going from anywhere from $430 up to like $600. And that just seemed a bit much for me. Nice springy clip, by the way. But I found that it is the Porsche Design P3150. It is a stainless steel pen, and it's got some black leather that's wrapped around here. So it's made of the combination of that stainless steel, and it's got a cylindrical barrel to it, and it's got that brushed stainless steel. And this is actually actual leather, and it encases the cap of that particular pen. And it's made of calf skin. So, you know, okay, that's a little different to have a pen wrapped in calf skin. Now, I've seen Porsche Design pens, and I'm telling you, they're not cheap. You look, and you're going to find these anywhere from, and on the low end, you're going to find $400 up through $800 for this particular brand in general, and newer models of this are definitely going to be in the $650 range. When you start to look at the P3150, you're going to find nowadays it's a different design, so you don't have that that perfect cylinder cigar shaped stainless steel look to it. That's going to look a little different. All right. So usually you can find the leather when you do find these in either black or brown. It does have an 18 karat gold rhodium plated nib. They usually came in fine, medium, and broad. This one happens to be a medium. Alright, so, oh, I inked myself. Oh, awesome. I shall wipe it off. Put my finger right on that feed. Way to go. So when you pull it out, you've got a good hefty pen. That's the one thing you know you're holding a good, solid, hefty pen when you whip out this particular one. You can see that that's what it looks like on the inside of that stainless steel cap. So, you know, this is good and heavy. And I expected it to be quality because of the name. Porsche Design, every time I've looked at their pens, they've always been upper end. They've always been less than 1,000, usually more than 500 when I see them for sale online. So, this one is also a cartridge converter pen, and this one looked to be never having been inked when I got it. This was perfectly clear. I mean, it looked like it had never seen ink in this converter. That nib and that feed were immaculately clean. It did not look to have ever been inked. And Alan did have a matching, it was either a ballpoint or a pencil. I think it was a ballpoint along with it. I only picked this one up. I may go back and pick up the matching ballpoint just so I can have the set, because I don't know who's going to buy the ballpoint. So I went ahead and picked that up. So, fairly nice addition. I've got a nice pen, and if it's manufactured by Graf von Faber-Castell or Pelican, depending upon when it was manufactured, because I can't nail down a date or a year of manufacture of this particular style, then you expect some quality from either company. So, all right, let's take a look at how both of these write. Alright, I've got my Rhodia dot pad here that I probably bought from Crazy Alan's Emporium at a pen show. So let's see if I can get this crossed right. It was giving me a little hard time earlier because that ink cartridge is actually almost empty and I had to prime it. But I was able to get it to right. So this is a cross. And see how it's running out of ink here? It's getting lighter and lighter. So that's what I think the deal is here. So running, yep, it's running out of ink. If I bear down, I can get a little bit more ink out of it. But anyway, so I think that this is the radiance, and I got to bear down. When I first started writing with it, I didn't have to bear down so much, but it was almost out of ink as it was when I first picked up the pen. But it's not incredibly smooth, but it's not horrific either. It's not so bad. It's better on a Rhodia pad than it is on a regular old notepad, I can tell you that much. So I've got no complaints for this pen. I'm going to flush it out and I'm going to put in a fresh cross cartridge, which I do have, and we'll see how it writes when it's actually got a full charge of ink. Okay? So let's go ahead and try the Porsche Design pen. You can post it, and that is a big, heavy, long pen when you post it. But that's not so horrific, not as bad as you would think. But still, it's just as fine to write without it, because it is just long enough. You've got a very long section. This is kind of a sharp step down right there. But you've got a very long stainless steel section here that you can still grip without problem. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Porsche Design, and this is the P3150 in stainless steel. And this particular nib, I believe it was an 18 karat nib, and that it was rhodium plated. You're not going to get a lot of flex out of it. You can get just a little bit out of it, but I wasn't expecting to anyway, just because of the style of nib. But it's a nice broad nib as far as the size of the nib. I'm not talking about the tip. I mean, this is a medium nib, but the broad style or architecture of that nib. And it's actually kind of a nice looking pen. I mean, yeah, it's a little odd for the calf skin on the cap. But I can deal with that, man. That's not so bad. It's actually, it is a quality, it's a quality pen. So, like I said, whether, depending upon what its year of manufacture was, either Graf von Faber-Castell or Pelikan, I'm going to lean towards Pelikan only because it's made in Germany, and quite honestly, I forgot where Graf von Faber-Castell is manufactured. I just can't remember off the top of my head. It could very well be Germany. I'm just drawing a blank here, and I used to know that kind of stuff. But anyway, so this was used, and it looks to have never been inked. The ink on this thing now, though, I did put in some Waterman Mystery Blue. My handwriting's not all that great tonight. Waterman Mysterious. Some people call it Mysterious. Mysterious Blue. But anyway, you know, like I said, Alan worked out a deal for all three of these, and I may have to go back, and he's got some vintage pens I really had my eye on while I was there, and I planned on getting until he made me a good deal on this one. So, knowing what they were going for full retail with other sellers, and just checking after I got home, I mean, when you can bang this out for significantly less than they were going for, and knowing the brand, just never really having owned one before, I figured I'd go for it. In Cross, I've got a bunch of Cross pens. I was just hoping that this would be better than the last Cross acquisition, which was a fairly inexpensive pen, and was not real thrilled with it. I was hoping that this would write better, and it does. So I'll see what I can do about flushing and then refilling this particular pen. So Crazy Alan's Emporium. If you see him at a pen show, check him out. I know he's going to be in Dallas here sometime soon. And if you see Alan, tell him you heard about him here on my channel. I'm sure he'd love to hear that. And if you're in the Triangle area, and look him up online, just Google Crazy Alan's Emporium and check out his website. He doesn't sell stuff off his website, but it will give you directions on how to get there. And say hey to Alan while you're there.